Welcome to the Live Wealthy Podcast with Dawn, where we are growing our wealth and our worth at the same time. You ready? Let's go. So, Brooke, do you like my hat?
It's so cute.
What does my hat say?
The Good Life.
It says TGL, the Good Life.
That's
It's
right.
my favorite hat, and I'm not just saying it, but what does the good life mean?
The good life means being able to live the life that feels like the life you'd always imagined. And that's different for everyone. The good life is not like, oh, you have to have X amount of dollars, or you have to have this kind of body, or this kind of purse, or this kind of house, because we all value different things. But if we're not living the life that we value the most, we're not living the good life.
So are you an example of living the good life?
I would say I'm a pretty good example. Am I perfect at it? No. Like I'm a 9 out of 10 for the good life, or maybe an 8 out of 10. But like, that's always what I'm striving for, is to live a life that's really aligned with my values. Because when I'm living a life that's aligned with my values, I'm the happiest, I'm the most at peace. I'm also the most creative. And oddly enough, I also make the most money because it's just like, all the things are lining up with the happiness, the joy, the abundance. And that is really like what I'm always striving for. So I would say, am I perfect at it? No. But is it always what's at the forefront of what I'm striving for? Yeah.
And perfection on this planet doesn't exist. So that's one thing we all know. But the one thing that I want to have a conversation with you, because I'm so like girl crush on just your good life, your values, how you live, how you do everything. Like, I want to ask you, like, how can you be a successful multi-million-dollar business owner, entrepreneur, at the same time you're uber successful underneath the roof of your home and being a mom to what feels like having multi-million human beings underneath your household? Like, how does a woman like you accomplish it all?
I mean, that's a great question. I get asked that question a lot. So I do have 6 kids, ages 6 through 17. So they are still all under roof. Like they're all still here. They're all home every single day. Well, 4 of the 6 are homeschooled. They're the older boys, kind of preteen, teen ages, by their own choice, have wanted to homeschool so that they can ski and surf and snowboard and like live the dream. Because that's what, we talk about with the good life, is like living the dream. Like, what's the thing you love to do? And so we've allowed them to make that choice. But that means, like, in addition to running, businesses, I have lots of humans in my house every single day, and 2 little girls. And so I think it was quite a journey for me, honestly, of learning how to let go of the things that didn't really matter, and like learning how to prioritize the things that were the most important, the things that only I could do as their mom, the things that only I could do as a wife. Because there's a lot of things that we do as a mom or a wife or a husband, like whoever's listening here, that are not essential. Like somebody else could do them. Somebody else could do the dishes. Somebody else could do the laundry. Somebody else could do the grocery, or, you can just get grocery delivery. That's an option too, right? But like even placing the grocery order. And so it came down first and foremost to me deciding, like, what actually is essential that I do. Like, I really can't sub out bedtime. I really can't sub out like the walk and talks with my kids or date night with my husband. But there's a lot of other things that I can sub out. And if I'm going to be highly effective and highly successful, I'm going to have to give up this idea that I can do it all. And I'm going to have to sort of like assemble a team, if you will. A team of people that support me, whether that's VAs or somebody helping with the house or somebody helping with the pickup after school. It's a lot of, identifying what actually matters, because not everything is a 10, and prioritizing the things that only I could do. So I had to release and surrender a lot of the idea or picture of what it looked like to be a good mom, and what it looked like to be, good at what I was doing as a mom, and just lay down a lot of those things that honestly I didn't need to be doing. And my kids didn't care if I was doing them. And I think that that's what a lot of women hold on to.
I think so too. And what's interesting is as I was raising my kids, because they're now 18 and 20, they're not underneath my umbrella anymore. I had to do the same thing. Like, you can't be successful at home and at work if you're trying to do it all. And you have to surrender and give up that control. And that your kids, my kids, will never remember that you weren't the one that folded the towels.
No.
And right. Or went to the grocery store or took them even to every single practice or, drove them every single place. Like, they don't remember that. What they remember is the story time.
Yeah.
They remember that you were there when they were crying, that you were there when they had hardship and you were helping them think through their options.
Yeah.
And I think so many times, as a wealth advisor, I've done the same thing, but so many women think they can't afford to give up those tasks. Like, I can't afford to pay somebody to do XYZ, the laundry or the cleaning or the ride shares or all of that kind of stuff. They think, well, everyone's budget is tight, right? And cash flow is tight because it is tight because we're raising human beings, and they feel like they can't afford to do that. But what you're saying and what I did too is, like you said, well, wait a second, that would take me X amount of dollars to source that out, to hire a virtual assistant, to hire a personal assistant, when I could take that hour of my time or that 5 hours of my time and turn that into 10 times of what I'm paying.
Exactly. You have to start thinking about, instead of spending your time, like investing your time, and what are you investing your time into? And there's a couple other things that might help the person here that is conflicted. I taught this to one of my mastermind members a few weeks ago, and you got to meet her. Her name is Christina, and she lives with a lot of worry that maybe, on her road to building this successful long-term care business for elderly people that's going really, really great. She, because of childhood wounds and things, all those things that we go through, we're afraid to do the same thing. And I said to her, honestly, what you think is important is probably different than what your kids think is important. So why don't you actually ask your kids, like, and also the same thing goes for your significant other. What are your favorite things that you love to do with me? Like, what are like the top 1 or 2 things that you love to do with me? And she said she was so shocked at what her son said. And it was like, he loved to take a walk with her at the end of the day. Like, that was not what she expected him to say. It wasn't anything that had to do with her cooking or, how she prepared things in the house. It was that he liked to take a walk with her. And so I think sometimes we're operating under these false notions of what actually really matters. And why don't we go to the source? Why don't we go to our spouse, go to our kids, go to our significant others, go to our business partners, go to our best friends, go to our moms, like whoever it is we're feeling guilty in the pursuit of the dream and the abundance and the wealth that we're, on the pursuit, but we're constantly feeling guilty, like we're not enough for the people around us. Well, why don't you ask them, like, what is the number one thing? Because I can't do everything you want me to do. I can't do everything for you, but I love you. You matter to me. So I want to know what that thing is that lights you up. I want to know what that thing is that you love to do with mom or that you love to do with your sweetheart, so that I'm checking the right box. Otherwise, I'm just like a crazy person running around trying to do everything, trying to make everything look perfect. And I'm not spending my most valuable hours of the day building wealth. Because what you said was so, so true. Like, if you were to take your dream income and you were to divide it by, your hourly rate, you'd probably come up with something like $500, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 an hour. And you have to ask yourself, like, is me loading the dishwasher and doing the dishes and grocery shopping worth $2,000 an hour? No. Like, what are the things in my business that only I can do? That I am uniquely positioned. I just crush it. I bring in the money. I bring in the sales. I close the deals. I nurture the relationships. Like, I am a genius with the spreadsheets, whatever it is. Like, what are the things that only you can do in your business? That's where you need to be spending 95% of your time. 95% of your time. And the rest, like if you can get this through your head, is like the money is going to come because you're spending time in the areas where you make money.
Mm-hmm. And you want to make money because you want more family experiences.
Yes.
So it all goes full circle, right? It's all about having more money. And so many times women don't want to talk about the money because we feel guilty about wanting more money. And it's like, no, it's so opposite of that. Because if you think about your why and your purpose and your alignment, it's all to have money so you can live your dream.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to something you said, so many good things in that last, in your last comments, but a couple of things that stood out to me. And I want to just address this because of a mom with 6 kids. Like when moms try to do too much for their kids, you're actually hindering their success versus helping them. And I think we try to hoard on our kids and want to be there for everything. I remember I had a girlfriend one time that was still tying her daughter's shoe when she was 6 years old. And I'm like, stop tying her shoe because you're just hindering her success. Like make them fail, right? Make them, experience life and they learn how to get up. Yes. And consequences, but just like the hardships of life. Like I think women, we try to do it all.
Yeah.
And what happens is that when we try to do it all, we don't end up doing the right things, whether it's money or with our time. And that's really what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I love this. I love talking about this because if you were to come into my house, you would see how independent especially our 4 oldest are. And I think one thing that I learned years ago, I don't even remember where I heard this, but it resonated so deeply with me. And it had to do with parenting and the way that we react to our children's difficulties or we react to our children's struggles, no matter how big or small they are. When we swoop in and we rescue them and we fix the situation and we step in and we make everything okay, on an unconscious or subconscious level, what we are telling them is you can't do it. You're not equipped to do it. You don't have the ability to do it. And so here we are thinking we're being a hero, but what we're actually doing is disempowering our children. And we're showing them that we actually don't believe they have what it takes to be resilient. They don't have what it takes to succeed. They don't have what it takes to get up and get it done because like, heck, we don't even think they can tie their tennis shoe. And so we are literally like crippling as opposed to enabling our kids. Now, are there times for us to like step in and just like, nurture and love and nourish and like be that soft side? Absolutely. But I think that for a lot of women, especially when it comes to they've got a business, they're an entrepreneur, they're chasing their dreams, to make up for the guilt they feel, which they shouldn't feel in the first place, because by the way, your children are a benefactor of your success. Like the guilt that they're feeling, to make up for that, they swoop in and they try to fix every problem. They try to fix every boo-boo. They try to make everything okay. And when they do that, they're harming their kids through basically saying like, you're not competent enough to do this.
Right.
So yeah,
which is opposite of what we want for our kids. We all have good intentions, but sometimes our approach is not the right approach.
Well, I think you have to ask yourself, what is my intention behind doing this for my child? Is my intention because and this is going to sound harsh, but is my intention to kind of control the love and affection I'm getting from my child? Is my intention to get love in return from my child, which is a form of manipulation? I don't think we even really understand we're doing this, but it's like, what is my intention? Am I trying to be the hero? Am I trying to get love from them? Or is my intention truly for their best interests, to help them for their highest and greatest good? There's a difference between those two things.
That is so powerful. It is all about the intention and peeling back that awareness of your wounds from your childhood and what you didn't get and what you're trying to still get from the relationship with your kids.
Yeah.
So, Brooke, you're like a one in a million. And I'm not just saying that because I always thought I was so busy. I have 2 kids, running a business and wanting to be really at the top of my game at home and at work. You are taking my busyness times a million. What I want to know is, what is the story? Like, what is your, like, let's peel back maybe the pain or what, like, you have a lot of motivation and energy to do what you do. Like, where does that come from? Where's that motivation come from? Is it childhood? What is it?
Oh gosh. I mean, different things motivate different people, right? Those of you listening, like we all have different motivators and different drivers, and none are better than the other. But I think when you can tap into your drive and your intrinsic motivation, that's when you can really make big things happen in your life. And most of us are going through the motions. And really, I was going through the motions for a couple of decades. I've been married for almost 26 years. We have 6 kids. I have a background in health and fitness. I was an ICU nurse for 10 years. My husband, practiced medicine full time for 20 years. We've been together forever. And I was just kind of like going through the motions, going through my day. And about 10 years ago, my father passed away, and he was a brilliant man. He had a PhD in business and economics, and was handsome. And when he was young, he was like athletic and, had all the things going for him, like really like top notch, smart guy. But I would describe it this way, had failure to thrive. Like he didn't play well in the sandbox, and he struggled a lot with depression and really believing that he could change. And, he'd made some bad decisions in his life. And sometimes we believe, like we really, really, truly believe we are our decisions and we can't change. And so then we continue to compound with more decisions that really just make our lives a mess, right? Mm-hmm. And so towards the end of his life, my parents divorced when I was 16. And towards the end of his life was really actually quite sad. And I know that one of the drivers and motivators for me, that's one of the biggest drivers, is I really truly want to empower people to believe they can change. They can make their life anything they want to make their life. It doesn't matter where they've been, what they've done, what their background is, how much they failed, how much they screwed up. Like, you can change your life. You have the power within you to make choices, to create habits, to change your patterns at any time in your life. Because my dad didn't believe that. And because of that, he started to make more choices that ended in his life ending at what I think is an early age, at 66. And when his life ended, really being filled with regret, like deep, deep, heartbreaking regret for the grenade he'd thrown in his life. And I just feel like if I can help people to believe and to have hope that they can change their life, whether it's changing the thoughts in their head or their bank account or their marriage or their relationship with their body. If I can help people to believe that, I know that that's the key to them totally, living the good life, changing everything about their life. And I feel like that's one of my deepest drives, honestly. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but that like really, really motivates me. Because I love to empower people. Second motivator, really quick, is it was really hard. It was really hard for me to become an entrepreneur. It was nothing I'd ever done. About 8 years ago, I became an entrepreneur and now have a couple different businesses, and I help women in various types of businesses to build their platforms and to build their revenue streams and their income in different areas. I had no experience and I had no mentor. I had no guide. And I had, at the time when I started, 5 kids, 9 and under. My husband worked 80 hours a week. I did not have a nanny. I did not have a house cleaner. I did not have any family around me. When I tell you I did not have any support, except for God. Like I did not have any support and I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about social marketing, about business, about leadership, except the intrinsic, gifts of loving people and communication that I had. That's basically it. And so I had to learn the messy, hard way. And under most circumstances, people in my position would not have done what I did, right? I would be nursing a baby, making dinner, taking a call, and helping with homework at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like it was crazy, messy, hard. And I could have had every excuse in the book to be like, listen, I can't do this. This is insane. I don't have support. I don't have help with my kids. I'm all alone. I don't have the skills. I've never sold or marketed anything. My husband's always gone. In the beginning, he wasn't very super supportive. Like my family was like, what are you doing? Like so many different reasons and excuses, but I pushed past every excuse because of the vision that I had in my mind for what I wanted for our life, like what I wanted for our future. And so the second thing that really motivates me is I want to help people overcome excuses and push past into the vision that they have for their life, because we all have reasons why we can't do something, but those very reasons why we can't do something are typically the reasons why we absolutely must do it. So those are the two things that really motivate me.
That's powerful. And it comes down to beliefs. It comes down to that relationship that you had with your father, what you witnessed, how his life unfolded, that he had regrets. You don't want regrets. You don't want excuses. And it came down to that belief. And that the power of belief is everything. It's one thing to say that we believe in our head, but it's another thing to act it out. And it's messy and it's hard. And some days you feel like giving up, but the choice to give up is way worse than the choice to have a pity party and to keep going. Yeah. Right. And so this was just 8 years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you've built not just this empire, but you also have this coach. Like, I know you how awesome you are as a coach, because I got to experience it last month with the group of women that you have. Like, tell us a little bit about like how people can, connect with you if they're suffering too. And maybe from nothing, they're like, I have nothing, but I have a dream. I have a belief. Like, how do you get in the presence of Brooke for help?
Well, I'll tell you about that, but I just want to touch on this topic of belief really quick.
Okay.
Because you said like, hey, you have to have belief. And people think that my belief back then was what it is now. And it was not anywhere close to what it is now. Mm. I was not somebody that had confidence. I never was somebody that had confidence, actually. I did not really believe in myself. I never felt like I was enough. And I had to work at that. I really had to work at that. People oftentimes, and I'm sure you could agree with this, Dawn, they see where you are now and they think like, oh my gosh, she's just so natural at it. She's just so good at it. Like she's got this amazing wealth advisory business. And you're like, yeah, but like the me of 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, totally different. Mm-hmm. And so when I decided, because it's a decision and to decide means to cut off. So when I decided I was going to be successful and I was going to grow a business and I was going to change the trajectory of our family's life, not taking anything from my husband and the success that he had, but it just wasn't working. It was not working the way that we were doing it. I made a decision and I knew that the hardest part was going to be me sticking with it, right? The hardest part is people sticking with it. And the reason why they don't stick with it isn't because they don't have the ability to learn what they need. Hello, we've got YouTube, we've got Google, we've got like AI, we've got everything we could possibly need to learn how. It's never about the how. It's about what you believe about yourself. And I knew that I needed to work on that. And so I would listen to podcasts. I would listen to audiobooks. I would cry while I would listen to these things and just kind of like detox all the BS I'd been telling myself for years. I got myself around people that thought differently, that were really high vibe and positive. And I found mentors and people, or watched people or followed people like, okay, like she's doing what I want to do. And she's got a full life and she's got kids and she's in her 40s, right? I'm going to be 46 this summer. So when I started my business, I was close to 40. I wasn't just like a 20 something, hot chick with no kids. And by the way, you 20 something hot chicks with no kids, like, girl, go for it. Like,
go for
it.
Yes.
And I'll say, don't put your life on hold. Don't put off the love of your life. Don't put off having a family. You can do it all. I'm living proof of that. But I had to engage in the right activities to grow that belief, because otherwise I never would have made it. I'm a completely different person because I immersed myself in the work of growing my belief in myself and surrounding myself with people that thought differently, because you can't surround yourself by people who are vibing super low. The crabs in the bucket, we all know that, right? The crabs in the bucket pull the other crabs back into the bucket, because people that you've been around your entire life, the majority of them do not want you to change. That doesn't mean you say, sayonara, peace out, I'm never talking to you again. It just means that like your family or your friends from 10, 20, 30 years ago, they still get to stay your family and friends, but they're not necessarily privy to your biggest dreams, your biggest ideas, because they're not going to understand them. And it's not their job to understand them. You were given the dream, not them. It's for you to understand. And therefore you need to get around people that also have big dreams, big goals, and are working on themselves. That's what I'll say about belief. As far as like, coaching and what I do, I started coaching because of all the hard work and the deep work I had to do on myself, my worth, my belief, my habits, my patterns, the healing kind of stuff I needed to do in order to develop the success that I have, and also to move away from being a workaholic and numbing out with work and coming more into alignment and being more connected to my sweetheart, to my kids, to life in general. And I started coaching because I knew a lot of women struggled with that, because so many of us are perfectionists. Like, we want to control and we want to be perfect. And I checked both of those boxes, and I knew that through my lived experience and my certified, expertise in various types of coaching, that I could help women. So I have a community. I have like a free community on Facebook where I share a weekly message. I share some posts and things. That's just like a free thing that anybody can participate in. But I have things like events. I have an event called Align, which is a 3-day event that's all about aligning your life, mind, body, spirit, relationships, and money, and getting those parts of the wheel in alignment so that you can elevate your business, elevate your dreams and your goals without so much pain and friction and resistance and like grit and grind. Yes, you have to work, but it doesn't have to be painful the whole time. So I do that event. I bring in different speakers, and I have things like a mastermind and stuff for women, that are growing businesses and need some guidance, and they want to collaborate with other women that are just, you got to meet the women.
I know. Exactly. Well, I almost feel like this, your mastermind is where you're giving back. Like you,
Yes.
In your journey of learning belief and action and patterns, it's almost like this collective group of women where you're actually able to give back all of your knowledge that you have grown in over the last 8+ years to be able
Yes.
to provide that to others, because you saw the transformation in yourself. 8 years going from what you went through to multi-million dollars now it's proof in the pudding that it can work if you surround yourself with the right type of energy and you believe and you constantly work on the faulty patterns that we all have in our head.
Yes.
So I love that. I'm just so impressed. And I can't not bring up the real reason why you and I love each other. And it's because the only way you can give up control and perfectionism, is that the word? Being perfect, is by trusting in something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's that spiritual connection that's so vitally important. And I'm telling you, Brooke, just like you, I'm a go-getter. You are a go-getter. I mean, you,
Absolutely.
6 kids, 16,000 businesses, like all of this stuff that we as human beings cannot control and be perfect at all of that kind of stuff.
No.
And there's only one solution.
Yeah.
Is
Surrender.
knowing that there's something bigger, that spiritual connection with God that really allows you to be humanly perfect as perfect as we can be to be able to live our life. And I think that, coming to your mastermind and watching the prayers before lunch and watching everyone just give, like knowing that we can only do so much as humans, that we have to let go. Because we want to control.
Yeah.
And we can't. Whoever's listening to this, if you need to understand that when you're able to let control, and as women with businesses and kids, we want to control everything.
It gets worse at first. And then you realize, ooh, I can't do this.
You can't do it, but there is something bigger. And the reason why Brooke is so successful is because she's able to realize and be aware spiritually that you just have to release. And when you do that, God puts the right people, the right energy, the right trajectory of where you're going in your life, because his plan is way bigger than ours.
Amen. And I love talking about this. And I was actually meeting with one of my mentors and coaches for the last couple of days, because I mentor and coach people, and I have mentors and coaches for my various types of businesses, my various streams of income. And so I was meeting with this one, and he's like, so, when did you decide to start being comfortable just talking about faith? And I don't really remember a line of demarcation there. I am not, here to baptize everybody. I'm not here to make everybody, go to church. That's not my role. I don't feel like that's my role, but I would be lying if I didn't say that one of my secret weapons to success is my closeness to God, and knowing that God is real. And for you, that might be something different, but it's something outside of yourself, a higher power, a source. For me, I say God, and I know that I know that, sorry, the feelings of inspiration that I got along my journey that pushed me to A, even start a business, B, really go after it, C, get help when I needed help, D, talk to this person and that person and do this and that. All of those critical decisions that I made along the way were spirit-driven decisions. It was not just me. It was something outside of me pushing me to do something. And the reason why I can say that is absolutely 100% true, because you may not believe that, but I was an introvert. I did not really have friends. I stuck to myself. I was terrified of public speaking or being up in front of people. My head would shake. My hands would shake. I did not have the confidence. I never let anybody, everything that I'm doing right now is mind-blowing to me, because it is not the me that I knew, but it's the me that God knew before I knew. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like one of the biggest cheat codes in success is learning how to tap into listening to the voice of spirit, the voice of intuition. And then as soon as you hear that voice, boom, get into action. It's that delay, that hesitation when we hear the purity and the clarity of the voice that tells us what to do. The nail in the coffin for us on our success journey and in life in general is when we hear the voice and we turn the volume down. Mm-hmm. When we hear the voice and we're like, yeah, but, or I'll do that later, or maybe that's crazy, I shouldn't do that. And for whatever reason, I had learned to attune myself to that voice. And instead of questioning it, I decided to take action. So to me, success is a spiritual pursuit. And the more you are in tuned with the spirit and you are in spirit or inspired, think of inspired as meaning in spirit. The more you are in spirit, mm-hmm. the more easeful your journey is going to be, because it's not all up to you. You trust, and you're like, oh, well, I'm supposed to go here. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to talk to that person. It's like even connecting with you, Dawn, and being like, hey, I think you need to come to my mastermind. Like, it's in Arizona. Like, you didn't really know me. You didn't have to say yes to that. But I just followed inspiration, and I was like, I'm just going to ask. And here we are, and we're friends, and we're texting each other. And I just wish that those of you listening could understand, that spirit that you're feeling, that intuition, that burning you have in your heart. Listen to it. Take action. I don't care what you say you believe. I care what you do. Like, to me, words are cheap. Action is what shows me if you actually have faith, if you actually have belief. And the action takers are the people that I know have massive faith, and they're the people that are massively successful. It's not because we're better. It's not because we're not afraid. It's because we know, listen, this force, this push, this pull, it came from something greater than me. And I'm not required to know every step. I'm just required to go with it. And when I go with it, I always grow with it, and it becomes something even better than I could have imagined.
So the secret to having it all is really to stop and listen and be present and being open to receiving guidance. And it comes down to that same word again of belief. It's believing that there's a greater power. It's about believing in yourself to be able to have it all.
Yeah.
So powerful. So I always love to end with stuff fun, like God's fun. We're fun. I want everyone to know, like, how you literally have fun in your life, because I see you on social media. You're here, you're in this state, you're over here. Like, tell us about your houses. Like, tell us like your real why, like you're fun. Cause you guys are going to be like, oh my gosh, how does she do all that too?
Yes. I mean, my number one core values are freedom and love. Like, I always tell people, like, I'm a disciplined hippie. Like, I'm not really sure if those two things go together.
Of course they do.
Yes. I have discipline and drive so that I can live a very free life, right? And we live in 3 different places. We have a home on the beach in Florida. We have a home up at a ski resort in the mountains. And we have a home in Hawaii, which is our family home where we raised our kids. Because of my discipline and because of the work I've done on myself, we've been able to create that life, and also in conjunction with all the hard work my husband did. But to me, like, the fun of life is being able to say yes. Like, I have this joke with some of my friends, and they're like, Brooke, is it a yes day? And I'm like, it's a yes day. Like, I love to be able to say yes. Yes, I'll get on that plane. Yes, let's go to the spa. Yes, I can donate $10,000. Yes, like, being able to say yes, like, that's a power card. Like, that is so much fun. But just the other day, for me, also, just one of the things about me to know is I love music. I love a good beat. I love a good jam. I was a music major when I first went to college. I was going to sing on Broadway, but I couldn't do it because I didn't have confidence in myself. I didn't believe in myself. Remember, I shook like a crazy, shivering. I just couldn't do it. I had a beautiful voice. When it came to the pressure, couldn't do it. So nowadays I get that with I have this gigantic JBL speaker. It's literally right next to my desk, friend. See this giant?
I have the same one. It's pink.
Girl.
Yes.
I turn it on full blast, and I'm like jamming out, like in my kitchen. Yesterday, I'm taking a walk, and I have, Mi Gente with Beyonce on in my ears, and I'm totally like skipping and dancing down the sidewalk. And I'm like, I don't care what these people driving by think. So my idea of fun is just being who you are. Being free. Don't take yourself so seriously. Have fun. If you like to dance while you're walking, or you like to travel, or you like whatever it is you love to do that makes you feel that joy, that sparks that joy, like, that's the juicy stuff in life. And that's a little bit about me, a little bit of the goofy side of me.
Not goofy, fun. It's about living in freedom. It's about living in freedom, living in fun, and living the good life.
That's right.
Ooh, Brooke, I love you. Thank you for being here today too.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.